So let's start by saying context is everything, okay? This is not a video about whether or not the decision is a good one or a bad one. This is about how the decision was taken. Hello and welcome, my name is Daniel Cranting. This is my YouTube channel. Before I do the usual things, I have to apologize. It's been a long time since I came on here or uploaded a video onto this channel. Apologies, massive apologies. Some logistical issues, also have to figure out some content direction issues. But that is done, and this time I can promise you, we will go. The content will keep on coming. So yes, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like the video, subscribe, share. Yeah. Let's go. So let's start by saying context is everything, okay? This is not a video about whether or not the decision is a good one or a bad one. This is about how the decision was taken, okay? You can make a right decision, but the processes with which you took it in doesn't necessarily speak well of yourself. So for example, somebody can use the Joe Hart Manchester City situation, for example. Yes, it was a bit harsh in the time. It was a right decision, but it doesn't mean that maybe Manchester City should have done it in the manner that in which they did it. And that speaks to what I'm come to talk about today. And David De Gea, yes, he's announced that he's leaving Manchester United after over 10 years, I think 12 years at the club. He was named Player of the Year for Man United 4 times during his stay at the club. Absolutely fantastic player. In my opinion, he's been the best Man United player since the time he got to the club till now, by far, in terms of consistency and what he's done for the club. Look, he's literally saved Man United. He made Man United competitive when they were not supposed to be competitive. He single-handedly pushed United to attain some certain heights in certain seasons where United shouldn't have been in those positions. So for him, he's somebody that I hold in very high esteem. I'm very protective of him when it comes to David De Gea. I will not just get up and speak anyhow about him. Now, let me come down to what exactly I'm talking about. The way he was treated in the past few months, during his last few months as a Man United player, for me, very distasteful, very painful for somebody who has served the club in this manner. This is what I'm talking about. You can't, when a player is running into the last year of his contract, you have to be very clear. And a club as big as Man United, a club that wants to be deemed as a serious club, a top team as Man United, cannot be seen doing business like that. When you are talking about a player who spent the last 12 years of his life with you, a player who is giving super service for the club, you need to be clear on what you want. Do you want him or you don't want him? Be very clear. If you are offering him a contract, it needs to come with certain terms and conditions. If the player agrees, he signs. If he doesn't, he goes. What Man United did by presenting a contract offer to De Gea with released or reduced wages, and then later, when the player has signed, you refuse to sign your part, and then come back and say you want to renegotiate, it doesn't speak well of the club. It's very wrong. Because from the player's point of view, he thinks that they've reached a solution. He probably will have a future with the club. He's thinking about next season, the project moving forward. And now he's left in uncertainty. You just can't do things like that, especially for, again, if it's a mid-table, lower league team, second-tier team, that is fine. But for a club like Man United, you can't seem to be doing your business like that. You see, it's about clarity and it's about knowing what you want. If Man United knew exactly what they want, trust me, they wouldn't have even presented De Gea with that contract extension. We've seen the likes of Milner, Firmino leave Liverpool in the last season. They knew by the first quarter of the year that their contracts were not going to be renewed. Liverpool knew exactly the direction they were going. So they informed the players, a nice send-off is given, they leave the club. We've seen the same thing with Gundogan. Even after the Champions League final, both Manchester City and Gundogan didn't necessarily know whether he was leaving or staying. But straight after the Champions League final, talks are had, they know that, okay, this thing is not going to go forward. We move. But with Man United, how can you possibly present a player with a new contract offer with reduced wages after months of negotiation? When the player signs and it's your turn to sign, then you withdraw the offer and call him back for a renegotiation. And those renegotiations are also based on what is happening elsewhere with your recruitment of another goalkeeper. It's not done. You can't do things like that. And again, it is not about, and I want people to listen to it, the conversation here is not about whether it's a right decision or not. The conversation is how the decision is taken. That's where my context is lying. Man United, and from a footballing point of view, if you saw anything that Ten Hag did with Ajax, you can clearly see that in the direction he's going, you need a goalkeeper who is very comfortable with the ball at his feet. De Gea doesn't have that. So if De Gea doesn't have that, you make that communication clear and you start making a proper approach for a next goalkeeper who has those characteristics, who can come in as soon as De Gea leaves. You don't leave it in an uncertain situation, and then both the players and the player and the fans and the club don't even know whether he's staying or going. That is wrong. De Gea leaving, yes, from a footballing point of view, makes sense. It's the right decision. But again, that is not how you treat a player who has served the club for this long. It's really painful. And also, from the fans' point of view, you see, I always say this thing. There are certain players who, when they are going through bad times, you cannot shout and scream at them and insult them and hound them out. You can't do some things to some certain players, especially players who have reached a certain level of consistency. Okay, there's so much crap about he was earning this amount of money. Well, that's absolute nonsense, because there are players who are come to Man U, have been earning big amounts of money and have not done jack, and we know them. So when you have a player who is proving why he's earning a certain amount of money, he goes through a rough patch. As football fans, your job, and I think as a football fan, your job is to put your arm around the player, knowing that his heart is for the club. He's not intentionally making mistakes. You get me? He's not intentionally making mistakes, and it's just for a short period. Maybe he can turn things around. If he reaches a point and you want it's not working and you need to get him out, you do it in the proper way. You don't hound him out of the club and scream and be happy that he's going. It's absolute nonsense for me. But that's cool. David De Gea leaves Man United. Again, I'm super grateful. I can't even find words to describe how indebted and how grateful I am to David De Gea for the service he's done to Manchester United. Brilliant player, brilliant man. He went to how many different managers, from Ferguson to Moyes to Louis van Gaal to Mourinho to Ole to Rangnick, now to Ten Hag. Look, absolutely brilliant player throughout the years. Salute to David De Gea. Let me hear your thoughts. And again, you don't need to agree with me. I'm not here for to convince anybody. I'm here to share my opinions. I also want to hear your opinions in there, or read your opinions in the comment section. So leave that in the comment section. And again, yeah, like the video, subscribe. Again, I promise this is the first of many. We're going to continue to keep the content coming. This long break is not going to happen again. I can give you my word. Thank you.